We are honored to invite to the podium now our featured speaker, Lorelei Erisis. Lorelei is the Vice President of the Board of Directors at Transcending Boundaries, which is a New England-based nonprofit that provides education, activism, and support for persons whose sexuality, gender, or relationship style do not fit in within conventional categories. Let these folks sit down. She works as a writer at the Rainbow Times, where she authors the column Ask a Trans Woman. She also serves as a board member and transgender liaison of NoHo Pride, where she helped to make NoHo Pride one of the most trans-inclusive LGBTQ pride events in the country. Lorelei was awarded the title of Miss Trans Northampton in 2009 and was trained in improvisation and sketch comedy at the renowned Second City in Chicago and Los Angeles. Please join me in welcoming our featured speaker, Lorelei Erisis.
I am a woman.
All right.
Now I get around a lot, and my personal politics are somewhere left of Lenin. I have a lot of things to say, and my parents were good hippies, so I've been speaking and marching and standing up and speaking out my whole life. And yet, the most revolutionary thing I have to say is, I am a woman. As a trans woman, the most frequent question I am asked is, when did you know you were a woman? And in my head, I think, would you ever ask a cis woman that? When was the last time you asked any woman who was not transgender that question? The answer I usually give them out loud is, as far back as I have memory, as far back as I have known who I am, as I have been able to recognize the world and look out at it, I have known I was a woman. The complicated answer to that is, I knew that the way I was being gendered was not right. I was looked at by a doctor when I was born, and they looked at what I had between my legs and they said, that's a boy. And my parents were pretty good hippies, and they didn't go out of their way to gender me particularly strongly, and if anybody had bothered to ask me instead of tell me what my gender was, I would have said, I'm a woman. But they didn't. The doctor told them, and they told me, and all of the adults around me seemed pretty convinced that, yeah, well, there's boy genitalia, so this must be a boy. And that's how I was raised. You know, I wasn't thankfully traditionally gendered as masculine. I came from a family of strong women and inspirational women. I sometimes joke that I'm basically the first woman in my family to wear a dress with any regularity. Bean boots are considered formal wear for the women in my family. And yet, they told me I was a boy. And they were adults. So I assumed they must know what they're talking about. They drive cars and make decisions and make sure there's food in the fridge and taught me how to cook a hamburger. So I figured they knew. And I thought they were wrong, but I didn't know how to tell them they were wrong. It seemed like it must be some arcane thing that I'd have to say to prove to them. So I went with it for a while. And sometime in my teens, I started saying, maybe I'm a woman? And people would say, no, you're not a woman. You're a boy. But I was 6'4" with a full beard by the time I was a sophomore in high school. Nobody questioned that that made me a boy, except me. I knew that didn't make me a boy. I knew nothing made me a boy because I wasn't a boy. I knew I am a woman. And eventually, I found the language to say that. I tried to overcomplicate things. I tend to overcomplicate things. I ask questions of everything. I question everything. Even trying to decide what I would say here today. I knew that I wouldn't know exactly what was going to come out of my mouth until I was standing here hearing words coming out of my mouth, because I questioned everything I might say, except I am a woman. And that's what I return to. And yet, I'm constantly having to say that over and over, proving to people I am a woman. Even to people you would think would be natural allies, other women. I am questioned. I tend to be femme myself. I'm identify as a femme. I'm a proud femme. But really, I would probably wear jeans and a t-shirt more often if it weren't for the fact that anytime I, just put on jeans and a t-shirt, I have to deal with being called sir all day. And so I wear a dress. I give every possible cue that I can to the world, I'm a woman! And yet, people still ask. When I was on the board of directors of No Hope Pride, which was a wonderful situation. It was essentially me and 4 old school Northampton lesbians, who were wonderful people. But even they, who totally accepted me as a woman, would constantly question it in little ways. Every day, I am constantly questioned in little ways, with a wink and a nudge. Of course you're a woman. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. But I am. And so for me, feminism is about a world of complete equality. A world where no child that comes after this generation, where no person who has ever heard me speak ever has to feel like they have to say, I am a woman, because they will be allowed to simply be a woman. Thank you.